back to the Midnight Who Show, and today we are going to be reviewing Stranded 1, which is, of course, the start of a brand new 4-part box set range for the 8th Doctor. And this one is definitely a little bit different than the previous ones. And I really enjoyed how, of course, after the events of, Ravenous 4, the TARDIS is now just a shell of its former self, and the Doctor, Liv, and Helen are now stranded in the year 2020. And this allows for a kind of a reset in the 8th Doctor Adventures, which I do think it really needed after, of course, Dark Eyes, and then Doom Coalition, and then Ravenous. These box sets have been going on for quite some time, and it's nice to see a little bit of a different path. But this box set still had some really great characters introduced, and some even more mysteries that I cannot wait to be explored more in the future. So, of course, the Doctor's house on Baker Street is a little bit different than he, of course, remembered it, because as he did give it to Thomas Brewster, he turned it into flats. So the Doctor now has to keep neighbors happy, and also basically have to live with them. But I found it really interesting how the Doctor is just not liking this. He just wants to get the TARDIS fixed so they can head off to their next adventure. And he does not like to live on Earth. And I found that very interesting when he said, I don't have UNIT this time. So yeah, he's definitely having a lot of difficulty adapting to life on Earth. While Liv and Helen, they are worried about him, but they're having an easier time at this, as they, of course, get jobs, as Liv is now a shopkeeper, and Helen becomes a history tutor. So they basically are trying to just move on and live with their lives in this new situation. And, toward the end, it's kind of interesting that we do see the TARDIS slowly starting to come back, and the Doctor might be able to take a test flight. Now, of course, this box set does introduce a brand new companion for the 8th Doctor in the form of Tanya. And after this box, I think she's a great character with, of course, a secret. And that secret I was pleasantly surprised by. And it allows for this character to have a little bit more mystery to her and really starts making you wondering, okay, how is this going to play out? Of course, that being that there's a little Torchwood crossover in this box set, because she's actually working alongside Torchwood 3 and living at the house, kind of waiting for the Doctor. And I really enjoy that because we, of course, see Andy, who appears in this box set, which is a great character in the Torchwood range. But they do run into a little problem, being the fact that this Doctor does not know about Torchwood. So they have to also keep him from knowing Torchwood, because, that would probably ruin the timeline. But also with Tanya, this prevents a little bit of problem for her relationship with Liv, which I also thought was a really great addition to this box set, because it adds a lot to Liv's character development, which I think is much needed, and it allows to kind of really expand on who Liv is. But I think one of my favorite scenes was this, of course, with Tanya, when she told Liv that she's transgender, and for Liv, she's like, okay, that's it. She doesn't get impacted by that. And I really enjoyed it, because for Tanya, she thinks that's just going to be it's going to create so much problems, but for Liv, it's no problem at all. Which also brings up the fact that it's kind of interesting to see how much Liv doesn't really know about Earth. Because this is, of course, not her home. She lives out in the stars, of course. And, Helen's from the future, and the Doctor is an alien Time Lord. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic how they're all kind of having to adapt to Earth life, and each one of them, of course, have a little bit of a different situation, which I really enjoyed. Now, another interesting addition to this box set was, of course, the Curator. Of course, that mysterious figure from, of course, the 50th anniversary, he appears in this box set, and he is just as mysterious as he was in that story. They're definitely trying to add a little bit to his character, but they're definitely not ruining the character, which I think was one of my biggest worries with the set, because, you don't want to know too much about the Curator. But I really like how, a lot of the things he says can definitely be interpreted as a future Doctor. He's referring to, oncoming storm and umbrellas. So there's definitely a lot of hints at it, but they don't really say it, which is kind of a cool way of doing it. But one thing I found interesting with this was he's kind of warning Helen of a future threat to all of them. And they have to watch out for the Doctor. And I found that really kind of fascinating. Okay, where is this going to head to? And will we see more of the Curator in the future? I'm really hoping so, because I think he's a great addition to this first story. Because he just kicks off the first story so well, and it allows for a lot more mystery to start being questioned that we start seeing toward the end of this box set as Helen's slowly realizing, what is really coming after them and what are they going to have to face this time. But overall, I really enjoy this box set. I feel this is exactly what the 8th Doctor range needed. It's a great reset for it. And it also is probably a great jumping off point for people who've never really listened to the 8th Doctor. Because honestly, all you really need to know is that the Doctor is now crash landed on Earth after Ravenous 4. I will also say it'll be very interesting to see where all these kind of story threads kind of will collide with. You know, of course, the Torchwood. How much will we really explore that? What will this curator? Will we see more of him? What will happen with Tanya and Liv? And it also brings me thinking, will this slowly be the way that Liv and even Helen slowly leave the Doctor for good? We'll have to wait till, of course, next year to see where Stranded will take us in the future. But at least we have a lot of 8th Doctor adventures to look forward to in the next few months, so that'll be exciting. So tell me your guys' thoughts on, of course, Stranded 1 and, of course, the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.